History gives us examples to explain how we are today, what mistakes people made, the fights groups won, and how we can prevent the fights people lost to strengthen a community.
In today's episode of Dead People Fan Club, we are going over different people and events in history that advocated for different rights and also people that opposed them. Disclaimer before we start this is Eleanor. She is not a member of the KKK. She is just acting the part. Nathan Forrest, after the Civil War, you became the first Grand Wizard of the KKK. Why did you start it?
The South was in chaos after the war. Many of us felt humiliated and powerless. The Klan started as a secret group to resist Reconstruction and what we saw as federal overreach. I was asked to lead it, and I did.
What actions did the KKK take under your leadership?
The KKK used threats and sometimes violence to keep Black people from voting and to stop Republican influence. Many people thought this was necessary to protect the South, even though it quickly became more brutal than some of us expected.
Did you try to stop the violence?
I later called for the KKK to disband when it became uncontrollable, but by then it had taken out on a life of its own. The fear and damage it caused had already spread.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Next, we have Elizabeth Cady Stanton. We already know about your strong support for women's rights, so why do you think women should have equal rights?
Well, first of all, I just want to say that most women are educated when it comes to politics. In fact, we might be more intelligent than most Black Americans. Also, I strongly believe women should be equal to men, as no woman would want to depend on anyone other than herself.
What do you want people to take away from your debate at the 1869 AERA convention?
I want people, most of all Frederick Douglass, to realize that women have struggles too, so that provides no excuse for who should gain suffrage first. I also want to make a point that women have the same, if not more, intelligence in politics than any other person, and we want to participate. We want to have choices.
What actions did you take to achieve women's suffrage?
I did not and will not stay quiet about women's rights in suffrage, as I have been a part of many associations throughout the years, once being a leader of the National American Women's Suffrage Association, and I've also gone to Congress myself after being denied the right to vote to help ratify an amendment finally giving women suffrage.
Nice speaking with you.
People's perspectives on events really depend on who or where you get your information from. History is important to study for this reason. You should be able to get all views of a subject to increase your understanding of what happened. For example, the issue of Black American rights has been highly debated. Numerous people had very different ideas on why and if Black Americans should vote. Proceedings of the Colored People's Convention of the State of South Carolina, held in Zion Church, Charleston, in November 1865, wrote an address to Congress stating that all people should have equal rights. They asked for no special privileges or favors. They asked only for even-handed justice. Many people oppose this viewpoint, however. Many people were killed unjustly based on race during this time as well. About 2,000 deaths via lynching occurred from 1865 to 1876. This mainly happened in previously Confederate states, but was not isolated to them. On top of this, many Americans opposed the introduction of rights for Black Americans. For example, in response to the possible passings of the Civil Rights Act, Andrew Johnson stated that the distinction of race and color is by the bill made to operate in favor of the colored and against the white race. The bill, in effect, proposes a discrimination against large numbers of intelligent, worthy, patriotic foreigners, and in the favor of the Black American.
President Lincoln, thank you for speaking with us. Early in your career, you didn't push to end slavery. Why was that?
You're right. In the beginning, I believed slavery was wrong, but I did not think the government had the right to abolish it in the states. My main concern was keeping the Union together, even if it meant tolerating slavery for a time.
So what caused your views to shift?
The Civil War changed me. As I saw the suffering it caused the people in seeking freedom, while Black soldiers were fighting for the Union, I came to see that the Union couldn't survive half free or half slave. I realized to change the country, we had to end slavery altogether.
What were your plans for the nation after war?
I wanted to welcome the Southern states back without revenge, but also I believe that the end of slavery must be permanent. I hope to free people and find education, work, and rights, such as owning land, so the nation could be built on a foundation of equality and unity for the future.
Thank you, Mr. Lincoln. Mr. Douglas, thank you for joining us. What was your main goal in your line of work?
My goal was to end slavery and fight for equality. I wanted to see a country where no man was owned and all people, black or white, were treated with justice and respect.
You often gave speeches and wrote books. Why did you choose those methods?
Words are powerful. I knew that if people heard the truth about slavery from someone who had lived it, they might be moved to act. Speaking and writing were my tools in the fight for freedom.
You also spoke about education and equal rights. Why were those important to you?
Education is the path of freedom. A mind once awakened cannot be enslaved, and true freedom must include equal rights for Black Americans, for women, for all people.
What message would you like to leave for future generations?
Never be silent in the face of injustice. Use your voice, your mind, and your courage to make the world better. Without struggle, there is no progress.
Hello, Lucy Stone.
Hello.
Are you for or against women's rights?
I am absolutely for women's rights. I believe no woman should be at the mercy of a controlling man, and no woman should get paid less for being the opposite sex. It's an injustice that we look down upon perfectly capable people and treat them like their only job is to marry and care for children.
Would you say you want equal rights for Black Americans or women?
If I could pick both, I would, but if I had to choose one over the other, it would be equal rights for women. I feel as the influence of women would save this country, and I strive for a day where women could vote for president, but we shouldn't ignore Black Americans as they have faced many wrongs in need of justice too.
Okay, so what have you contributed to this cause?
As a spokesperson and an activist, I have delivered many speeches on the topic of women's rights and some on Black Americans' rights. I have also written and petitioned for the issue to inspire and encourage women all across the country to take action and gain what women deserve.
Great, thanks for speaking with me.
Okay, disclaimer before we start this interview. This is on a member of the KKK who was part of law enforcement. Mr. Pickup is not that. Just want to make that clear. He's just acting the part. He served as a sheriff's deputy in the South after the Civil War. Is it true that you were also involved in the KKK?
That's right. Like many others in the department, I was part of the Klan. We saw it as protecting the Southern way of life. After the Confederacy fell, everything changed. Freed men were voting and holding office. It felt like the world was upside down.
But as a law enforcement officer, weren't you supposed to protect the rights of all citizens?
That's what the badge said. But in truth, we didn't see the freed men as equals. Most of us believed they weren't fit to vote or lead. When the Klan rode out, we didn't see it as breaking the law. We saw it as restoring order. And if someone reported us, we controlled the courts and the jails. Nothing came of it.
So you used your official role to protect the Klan?
We made sure investigations went nowhere. If a witness came forward, we intimidate them, or worse. Sometimes we wore hoods, sometimes we didn't need to. Folks knew not to cross us. Fear was the real law.
Do you regret any of it?
Regret? That depends on who you ask. We thought we were defending our people, but if you're asking whether it was justice, no. It was power, and we used it to keep Black Americans down.
Woo!
Disclaimer, Logan is not opposed to women, so this is just him reading off a script. Okay. Next we have is the anti-suffrage men's leagues. So what is the goal your leagues want to achieve?
We're really opposed to women's suffrage and want to deny women political power because giving them the power to vote would destroy the traditional family structure, disrupt social order, and taint women's morals for the worse.
So what have you done to prevent women from getting suffrage?
We are continuously working to spread the word through various propaganda, such as handing out pamphlets and writing in the newspaper, as well as campaigns. We need to warn fellow Americans of the danger of giving women power, even if we have to use fear to stop suffrage from reaching women.
So, what is your plan for why you want to do this?
We are opinionated against women's suffrage since many aren't educated enough and would ruin civic participation with their shallow knowledge. It's also known that men are supposed to be the authority in the household, so if we give women power, we would be jeopardizing men's role and taking away men's applied power.
Mr. Washington, thank you for speaking with us. You were born into slavery. How did you overcome such difficult beginnings?
Thank you. I believe that hard work, determination, and a thirst for knowledge allowed me to rise above those circumstances. Education became my pathway to freedom.
Why did you focus so much on education and vocal training for African Americans?
Because I saw that true progress could only come through practical skills and economic independence. If we could learn trades, own property, and support ourselves, we could build a better future.
Some criticized your approach as being too accommodating to segregation. How do you respond?
Well, I believe in working within the system we had, not accepting it forever. Uplifting our people through education and self-resilience was, in my view, the most powerful form of resistance.
What do you hope your legacy will be?
That I helped lay a foundation for future generations to rise through knowledge, dignity, and perseverance.
Thank you, Mr. Washington.
Thank you. So, Journey of Truth, what is your stance on women's rights?
I believe women's rights are just as important to achieve as rights for Black Americans. They should go hand in hand. Women's rights are crucial for obtaining gender equality and erasing gender-based stereotypes.
Okay, what did you want people to know about your most famous speech, Ain't I a Woman?
My main motivation for my speech, Ain't I a Woman, is to advocate for the rights of Black women, as women and Black Americans deserve the same rights as any other person in America. I want people to hear my speech and think, why do we deny these rights to perfectly capable and civilized people?
So what would you want your legacy to be?
I want to empower women and bring equality and opportunities for everyone who has been deprived of their power. For if this nation claims they have equality, then giving rights to everyone is pivotal.
Agreed. Thank you for joining us. Disclaimer, Ms. Pfeifenberger these are not her views on women's rights. So let's get into the interview. So James Gordon Bennett, sir, what is your view on women's rights?
Well, I find it very ridiculous that people, mainly women, want to go outside of their comfort of the traditional roles and vote and run for office. Women are supposed to be domestic and listen to their husbands and fathers. Politics are for men, not women.
What does your newspaper company, the New York Herald, say about women's rights?
It's very convenient that I have the access to the newspaper to inform people about the negatives of giving women the right to vote. My newspaper tells Americans that women need to stick to the traditional roles and women's suffrage activists have no place to demand these outrageous requests.
So do you see women's suffrage as something that's going to happen?
No, it shouldn't be a common sense at all. If women enter politics, then we are dooming America. I just hope that my fellow Americans can see this upcoming disaster if we get women's suffrage.
Thank you for the interview.
Another example of this is Alexander H. Stevens, where according to Emerging Civil War, claimed that Black inferiority was natural and that it should be continued. He states that the Confederate government has fixed it by basing its entire existence on the premise that whites were superior to blacks. Another issue, somewhat nested into equal rights, is equal access to education. According to the Legal Information Institute, if one race is inferior to the other socially, the Constitution of the United States cannot put them on the same plane. Regarding equal rights to education, this means that Black Americans, and in extension, any other race, are treated inferiorly to others socially, will be treated as such in the Constitution. Many people of different races, such as Frederick Douglass, according to the Library of Congress, felt this was extremely unjust. He states that man saw he had a right to liberty, to education, and to an equal chance with all other men in the common race of life in the pursuit of happiness. Despite being similar events, many people have varying perspectives on equal rights and, in extension, education. Depending on what you read or what you are shown, you may have also had a different perspective on these events. Because of this, you should study history. It's extremely important to ensure you get the full picture, as your opinion, or at least understanding, probably will change.
Woo!
Whatever, freedom.
Whatever, freedom.
Love women.
Yeah. Go women.
Love women. Love
Yeah.
women.
Okay.